I posted chapter 6 on Blackboard yesterday, so those PowerPoints are out there right now. It looks like, again, I don't know what I'm going to do about Friday yet. I'll let you know on Wednesday what I'm going to do about Friday morning. So be flexible with me. It looks like the second exam will not be a week from today. It'll probably be a week from Wednesday. Because we have to finish chapter 6, we have to do chapter 6, and we have to do chapter 7. Hopefully we'll get into chapter 6 today. If I quit talking, we can wrap it up, first part of class on Wednesday, then get into chapter 7, and then finish up chapter 7 on Monday, do a review over chapters 4, 5, 6, and 7. The last part of class on Monday. I'm going to try to allow time so I won't go through it so rapidly. And then we'll have the exam on Wednesday. Does that sound about right? Bless you. I'm not sure about a homework assignment. Chances are I'll probably do another homework assignment between now and the exam. You'll have 4 days or so to do it. It'll be about 25 questions worth 1 point each. As you're taking, you'll have all kinds of liberal opportunities. Love that word. As far as going in and out of the quiz and being able to check, you'll get immediate feedback on if you got the right answer or not, all that fine stuff. So that'll be quiz. That'll be assignment number what, 5? So we'll do that. I'll probably launch that probably Wednesday afternoon, and you'll have until Sunday night or something like that to get it done or something like that. Long time. Anybody have any questions of me? Quiet group. You know, what's amazing about this time of the semester, and well, actually throughout the semester as far as that goes, no one says anything in class. And then I get these emails, usually on the weekend. I thought you were going to post some extra credit on Blackboard. That's pretty much the email I got. No name, nothing. It says, I thought you were going to post some, you said in class you're going to post some extra credit on Blackboard. I don't think I said that. I thought I said I was going to go in and look at the form from the university and make that form available on Blackboard. I thought I said I was going to do that.
You did.
Okay, but but you know, you have to look at it from my perspective. I said, I don't remember saying that, but I get all these different, you know, I get different views. I thought you were going to put extra credit on Blackboard. Or, I'm still having trouble with Connect. Well, late on a Saturday night, if you're having trouble with Connect, there's not much I can do, because that's usually when I get an email like that, and I don't know what to do about it. So if you're having any Connect issue at all, we're probably beyond going back and forth with email to try to solve the problem. Is that you might have a technical issue that I need to be made aware of or better appreciate so I can help you. But talking about or communicating via email is probably kind of a wrong way to handle it at this point. Because 90% of you or 98% of you are not having any problem, from what I can understand or determine. Is that a fair assessment? Okay. Because I'm getting emails just from a few people, and so I think it's a technical issue. Anybody have an opinion about anything in here? Anybody ever form an opinion about anything? Have you ever preferred something, one thing more than another? Have you ever liked somebody more than another person? Why? If you did, why? What caused those opinions to be formed? Why did you... What are your opinions a culmination of? I mean, socialization. But let's talk about socialization in the context of how socialization evolves. You know, we form our opinions a lot based on how we grew up, who our family is, family values or not, peer pressure, institutions, life's experiences, goals, objectives, priorities, what I want to be when I grow up. How many of you like beets? How many like to smell beets being cooked in the kitchen? How many like that? You like beets, but you don't like to smell them?
Yeah.
How many of you ever eaten beets? Of those who raised your hand, how many of you like beets? How many of you absolutely cannot stand beets? Why is there such a disparity over beets? I can't stand beets myself. I never could stand beets. How many of you like broccoli? How many of you hate broccoli? George Herbert Walker Bush said, "I'm President of the United States, and I don't have to eat broccoli anymore." And so he banned broccoli from being prepared in the White House because he couldn't stand either the smell of it or the prospect of eating it. Well, maybe comparing preferences for food is not a good scientific method for measuring public opinion. I don't know. Maybe it's just preferences. But isn't public opinion about preferences? Some of us love the job that the President of the United States does. Some of us absolutely can't wait until the President is defeated at the next election. I'm just picking the President. I can be talking about a congressman, I can be talking about a U.S. Senator, I can be talking about a governor, I can be talking about the mayor or anybody else. But some of us hold very much polarizing views on public officials. Where did all those different views come from? Well, this political socialization that we're going to be talking about. And a lot of it has to do with what I talked about earlier when we were talking about going out to other parts of the world and getting to know other people, other cultures, other ways of life. And some of us choose not to participate in civic life at all. And then we can say, we don't know, and I think they're all a bunch of idiots anyway, and that's why I don't participate, because they're all a bunch of crooked idiots. And so we can have plausible ignorance or plausible deniability about what's going on in our day-to-day lives around us. But if we go out and get involved, we learn something about issues, about people, about the process, about how things get done, what doesn't work, what works, and all those things. And we can become more informed with what is happening in life, in public policy, why political actors behave the way that they do. In the more objective we are about understanding and participating in civic life, the more, I think, informed we become, and maybe the more of a responsible citizen we become. But we can all keep our head in the sand and not participate and just say, oh, they're just a bunch of crooked idiots, I don't care. Do you care anything about them? The only thing I care about is what happens to me today or tomorrow. And that's about as far as it goes. Because I'm in college or I'm working 60 hours a week at the factory or whatever else. I don't have time. And maybe you don't have time. And maybe your priorities are such. And we're going to talk about, how many of you ever heard of Maslow's hierarchy of needs? We're going to, Maslow's hierarchy of needs has a little bit to factor in on how much attention we pay. Wouldn't you agree? If we're at the physiological level, where we need things like shelter, food, I mean, that's pretty desperate, if that's the level we're at. I think we've all been where I've been there before. Even when I was married, I was just how am I going to pay How am I going to buy that baby formula for my daughter? Where is that money going to come from this week? How am I going to buy diapers? And so and I really don't care about anything else. The only thing I care about is how I'm going to take care of that little baby girl of mine this week. And everything else gets tuned out. Because that's my priority. And I don't care about somebody running for re-election. It doesn't really concern me very much. But the higher you go up that ladder, Maslow's ladder, the more you're able perhaps to start paying attention to what's going on around you. So if you can kind of keep that in mind as we talk about public opinion and we talk about this chapter, that might give us a good basis from which to spring from. Agents of socialization, family influences on activism and attitudes. When you're growing up, when you're a baby, up until the time you go to kindergarten or preschool or kindergarten or whatever, you're at mom and dad or aunt and uncle or cousins or grandpa and grandma or what, brothers and sisters have a great deal of influence in your socialization of who you are, of what you think is right and wrong based on the slap on the head or don't do that or no, and a lot of people don't realize that their first name is something other than no before you go to school because you're told not to do things. You hear your family and friends talk about political actors, and you listen. You take that in, and you take it in probably a lot more than maybe you realize. You think about what is just and what is unjust, albeit at a very basic level, because you're young, you're still forming your thoughts, you're not at the age of reasoning necessarily. Then you go to school, and then you are there with other kids who have gone through a process not unlike yours, but perhaps somewhat different than yours, because they're coming from different families. They're coming from somewhat different orientations about how they are going to be looking at the world. And they're going to be in competition with you because you want them to kind of think about how you view the world at a very young age. And they want you to do the same. Some kids share their toys better with some than others. Some, you will not touch my toy for any, there's nothing, because you didn't have to share toys, and now you're not used to sharing your toys, or whatever the case may be. But your family does influence you a great deal early in your life. Then you go into school, and you're confronted with this thing called peer pressure. And it only gets worse from there. Sally was wearing the neatest little dress today. Mom, I'd sure like to have one of those. Or so-and-so's mom and dad bought them a brand new car when they got their driver's license. Mom and Dad, I'd sure like you to buy me a car. So it continues. It continues. I remember when I was in high school, there was these rich kids. There was like 5 or 6 of them in my class. When they turned 16, they all got brand new cars. Just give them to them. New Chevelles, new Camaros, new, just brand spanking new. Here I am, buying my first car for $75, 55 Chevy, wrapping it together with baling wire so it'll hold together, and just hoping it would make it into town. I'd like to have had one of those brand new cars. But I have to tell you, I never gave it much thought because of where I came from, I guess. I mean, I just look at it differently. Could my family have afforded it? Probably, if they would have sucked it up just to make their kid look good at school. but it didn't work that way. So influences, media's ever-increasing role in socialization. We're bombarded with the media. And again, I hate to keep talking back in my day, this is the way it was. Well, back in my day, after the Tonight Show, after the Late Show, what happened to the television when Johnny Carson or Jack Paar went off the air? What happened to television?
It went off the air.
It snowed out. I mean, there was no other show. It was gone for the day, for the night, and nothing came on until the next morning. And we had early news, what, 5:30 or 6 o'clock in the morning, and that's when we had television again. But for the rest of the night, we had no television because it snowed. We only had we had three networks. But today, we are constantly consuming information. And there's really no in-depth anything in the media. It's all sound bites. And I guess it has a lot to do with my paradigm compared maybe to yours. But how many of you listen to the top of the, like CNN, MSNBC, Fox, or whatever, and at the top of the hour, at the bottom of the hour, they announce the headlines. And they basically said, here's what we're going to be talking about. And there's always a hook there that causes you to want to listen to that newscast because you're interested in this particular story that they've just listed. How many of you ever done that? How many of you fall for it every single time? Because when they get to eventually talking about that story, it's usually about 20, 25 minutes after they've announced it. And then when they do finally talk about it, they talk about it for maybe, I don't know, 45 seconds. And there's really not much to it. But there you are, you fell for it. And it's a sound bite. And there's not much depth there. Is that news reporting? I mean, I guess it is in our day and age. But they hook you in, and bless you. But that's how we get our information, is soundbite type information anymore. We don't have a lot of in-depth information unless we go search it out on our own, and not too many of us are willing to do that because we're doing too many other things. Our schools have a lot to do with shaping our viewpoints from a political standpoint. Some of our teachers had a great deal of influence on us. We may have had coaches, we may have had debate coaches, we may have had whatever teachers that we looked up to in school as a role model even, and said, I really like this person, and I want to be like this person. I want to be like they are. I want to think the way they do, even politically. And so that has a great deal of influence. Your general sense of patriotism, supporting the military, being proud of your country, being proud of your state, being proud of your community, and your willingness to participate in your community. 4-H, FFA, FBLA, scouting programs, community and church organizations, student government, on and on and on. There's all kinds of opportunities. If you're likely to participate in school in extracurricular activities, you're probably more likely to participate in community activities when you become an adult because you're kind of used to doing it. There are some exceptions. People that were very clammed up in school, didn't get out much, become rather open when they become an adult because things start interesting them more. Church is a good training ground for a lot of us to become civically engaged. Some of us, at a very young age, maybe in high school, started assisting others with Sunday school. Or you were involved in some kind of a committee at church. And there, after a while, someone asked you to actually lead the committee, or actually teach a Sunday school class, or actually be a chaperone for younger kids when they go on a float trip with a church group, or whatever the case may be. And people start looking at you, perhaps, as a leader, as somebody that will do the job when they're asked to do it. And the church is a wonderful place to cut your civic involvement teeth, if you will. You're also shaped about, go back to peer group pressure. We're all, you know, I was, what, 6th grade. Mark Vinker was my best friend. None of you'll be able to appreciate this, I know, but back then the Beatles were real hot. Everybody wanted to be John Lennon or George Harrison or Paul McCartney. Nobody wanted to be Ringo. We were wearing, I had to have my Beatle boots, the Beatle boots that zipped up on the inside. And I thought they were just the neatest things in the world. Of course, Mark had a pair of Beatle boots, but his Beatle boots were neater than mine. Can you all check your cell phones, please? Because next time that happens, we're going to have a quiz. I think I've been fair on my warning on that, haven't I? I hope. I don't mean to be gruff, but I just think it's courteous. Unless you're expecting a phone call, you need to let me know at the beginning of class so I can be sensitive to it. Because if you have an emergency or if you're expecting an important call, you need to let me know, and I'll accommodate you any way I can. But anyway, he put peer pressure on me because he looked more like a Beatle than I did. And I was really small back then too. So I